Hello, I'm Ronnie Parsons, and today I'm going to be answering some of the most important questions based around my documentary, 1 in 700.
So, what made you choose the documentary route?
To be fair, I've always had a love of how documentaries look and how they're sort of presented in a way. I'm more of a fan of mockumentaries, to be fair, like the way it sort of can integrate comedy and you know, sort of the documentary movement, because it's very real to life, and I'm a very sort of, I've got a keen interest in, to quote Michael Moore, to enjoy the work of non-fiction, and just the whole aspect of it really. Film, I'm interested in film, don't get me wrong, but just documentary appealed to me a little bit more. I just thought I'd take this opportunity to fully pump out everything into a documentary and actually get that opportunity to make a documentary.
So what do you decide to do on the cleft lip?
I had the idea quite a while ago, to be fair. It's probably about 2 years ago, and I was just like, I wanted to integrate my filming with the whole cleft lip subject. I had the idea to maybe just go to a cleft open day at one of the hospitals and just interview people. That was probably back in 2018. And then I was floating around the ideas of sort of what can I do a documentary on. I was going to do it on my brother, who's a snooker player. I sort of like, should I do it on my cleft lip? And then one thing led to another, and here we are. And I'm glad that I did, to be fair, as opposed to I was going to do it on music or sort of like football hooligan culture. That was another idea. Another one of the reasons why I wanted to do it is I've not really seen any major cleft lip documentaries before, so I thought it was a good idea to sort of put something out in that field and give someone, something to watch.
So what research have you done in preparation for the documentary?
Well, there's a lot of research I've done, to be fair, and it's been an educational experience not only for the viewer but for me as well. I feel like I've learned a lot about the whole cleft subject that I didn't already know, and there's a lot of things I learned about myself as well, and I suppose that sort of figures into the research aspect. Just general research really about one interesting fact I did learn, that I think the earliest cleft lip surgery or repair that took place, I think was about sort of 101 BC or something, like a really long time ago. I think it was in China, I think it said.
What's your most memorable interview from the documentary?
My most memorable interview probably be my lovely mother, Claire Parsons, just because it shocked me at first. My parents are so supportive of anything that I do. It sort of shocked me when we was talking about it one night, and she was just like, you know what, I will do the documentary, and that it just knocked me for six of it. I was just like, really? And I was like, you're not joking, are you? I even asked her the day before we shot the interview, I said, you sure you still want to do it? And she's like, yeah. I was like, that's brilliant. But yeah, I learned a lot about myself, a lot more with that, and stuff that I didn't even realise, like their theory of why I've got a cleft, which I've never even heard before, that they told me, and I was just like, that shocked me as well. But yeah, I think that's probably been the most memorable. All the others, again, just meeting people with clefts that I probably would have never have met ever. So it's good to do that as well. But all of it really, I think. But my mum probably takes the cake of most memorable.
Your favourite aspect of the documentary?
Favourite aspect? I'd say probably not only the style of documentary we're going for. So there's a lot of documentaries you'll see, mainly Netflix documentaries, that will just be sort of talking head almost. There'll be someone talking in front of the camera. Director, very much like what we're doing here today. Director sat there asking the questions, camera operator, and there'll be multi-cam set up just in a studio that'll probably shoot for God knows how many hours. Whereas our style that we've tried to get is more of like a Louis Theroux, where it's sort of presented as well, and how he sort of Sharon said it, I think the best, is how he walks about and he's in frame most of the time.
A lot of running gun.
Definitely, yeah. And I feel like that's just a lot better in a way. And it's just sort of, obviously with me having a cleft, I feel like it's better to have that more personal aspect of it. and feel like letting the viewer into my life in a way. And that's probably my favourite, the fact of I've got to be in it as well as, you know, oversee everything. Number one for me, Louis Theroux, any day of the week. I feel like he has sort of pioneered a genre, and he's sort of paved the way for loads of people to sort of come out and do what they do, you know, like Stacey Dooley and Reggie Yates. And I'd say he's probably one of the biggest inspiration. Michael Moore, Louis Theroux is very naive in his approach, and he tries to just get deep in and answer the questions and ask the important questions, should I say. And he's not afraid to go over the boundary.
So do you like documentaries more than films, or are they sort of both even?
I'd say even. There'll be some days where I'm like, yeah, you know what, that's it, I want to watch a documentary, I want to watch a film. I feel like this past couple of weeks I've watched a lot more documentaries than I probably ever have done. That's due to obviously the project and the work, but I feel like films, you know, sometimes you need a bit of a reality check and a wake-up call, and I feel like watching a documentary is brilliant for that. Not necessarily it'll, you know, appeal to your own life, but I feel like, yeah, documentaries just show the world in its entirety. There's some that be a bit naughty with it and, you know, play on and fabricate stuff, whereas I think Louis Theroux is very real of what he says.
So what has been your least favourite part of the documentary, the filming, the process?
100%, I know me and my camera operator definitely agree, is when we went to Washington to interview Sharon. We had completed filming, got a takeaway, was sort of just going through the day's footage, and I think we didn't get much sleep, and I did annoy my camera operator in our hotel room because I forgot to turn off my alarms that were set for 4 or 5 in the morning, so this air raid siren just starts blasting out, and he was not happy with me in that respect. So I apologise for that. There was an interview with one of the doctors, and it was very last minute. In that interview, I'll say sort of probably about 50 times. It's not good. It's, you know.
So what's the reason behind the name of the documentary?
So 1 in 700 is the statistic of how many babies are born with a cleft, sort of out of how many. And it's a bit of a fine line really, because I think on the official Clapper website that's the statistic that they've got, whereas I think I've looked at otherwise and it's like 1 in 1,300 and 1 in like 8,000, or, you know, it differs. But I feel like 1 in 700 has a certain ring to it, and talking with everyone else, that's the statistic that I go by, so I feel like that's where the name came from really. But I feel like we've got a good amount. I could have done 10 more interviews if I wanted to, but for the sort of time schedule, 40 minutes, so it's not long. But yeah, I think I've got the perfect amount really. So yeah, potentially got another documentary in the pipeline. I won't want to reveal too much, but my brother, as I previously said, potentially do that documentary because he's got Q School, which is the entrance to being a professional. So if he wins that, he'll be on the professional snooker tour. So potentially do a documentary on that, and then just maybe write a couple of short films, maybe get some short films done, and just live my best life really. But yeah, have a well-deserved break. I think that's the main physical thing first. But yeah.
Ronnie, thank you very much for being with you.
No problem.
Hi, my name is Brandon George. I'm the cinematographer and colourist behind Ronnie Parsons' documentary 1 in 700. So I met Ronnie in college, and he's always had sort of a wide passion for filmmaking, and he's always willing to make new things and films and short films and documentaries. And but I'm sort of known for the expertise to sort of bring people's creative visions to life, and so when he asked me to film the documentary, I said yes.
So what did you think of the whole cleft lip subject? Was you a bit sort of nervous going into it, or?
I had no idea what a cleft lip was. In fact, I didn't even know Ronnie had a cleft lip. I remember having a conversation with him in the corridor, and I asked him, what you doing in your documentary? And he said, cleft lip, like, who's that? I thought it was like a person he was doing it on. So I had no idea what it was, and I didn't even realise he had one. But filming the documentary, I realised that Ronnie really isn't too noticeable compared to other people's. But I had no idea what it was. But I've learned so much throughout filming the documentary that I just wouldn't have known otherwise.
Do you you feel like you've learned while making this documentary, even though you're behind the camera, you're constantly listening? Have you learned stuff throughout the documentary filming?
I've definitely learned a lot about cleft lip through filming the documentary. I didn't really know what a cleft lip and palate was. I didn't know what a cleft lip was. I didn't know what procedures an individual had to go under for the cleft lip. But yeah, you know, I think one of the most memorable parts was when talking to Sharon. I'm quite knowledgeable on the topic, and I've definitely learned a lot through that interview alone. But Ian and Ronnie's mum was quite educating.
Cool. So what has been your most enjoyable aspects? Obviously filming the whole thing.
The most enjoyable part of the documentary is just filming it, really. You know, it's such a relaxed atmosphere to where it's not rushed, and you're really not on a time limit. You know, we've allocated plenty of time and, you know, days filming for the documentary to where it's not rushed, and it's just really taken it at our own pace, and it's been very productive. It's just been nice to be able to sit back, relax, and sort of bring it together.
Cool. So talk us a bit through the equipment. What sort of kit was you, or have you been using while filming?
Camera-wise, we've been filming on a Canon R6, sort of a new camera I'm experimenting with. Really good. I'm really impressed with the outcome of it so far. Audio, we've been using entirely wireless, so we've been using 2 dirty microphones and 2 Sennheiser G3 wireless as a backup. They've been working quite well. We've not had many issues with them. We had a shotgun mic in one of the days where we was doing some interviews with the public. That didn't go too well, but I don't know if we'll make it into the documentary. But yeah, and then rigging, we just had V-mount battery and a monitor, and it just sort of packed out on the shoulder, easy to carry around, sort of run and gun in a way. So yeah, it's been quite a neat compact rig.
If you had a major budget, as much money as you wanted to spend, and sort of camera equipment wise, what would you want to sort of film this documentary on? What do you think about this documentary better?
I've not played about with the Sony FXs, and I'd like to have probably tried an experiment in filming the documentary, or maybe a Sony FX9, one of the bigger FX cameras, because they're more tailored to documentary filming. They're more built out, and it's less of a rig. It's everything you need in one camera, nothing external. I wouldn't have filmed it on anything bigger because it's unnecessary, and plus any other rigs like an ARRI is made for multiple people and a big crew to operate, whereas an FX is just very simple and easy to use.
So what sort of aspect ratio and stuff in this documentary been filmed?
Again, we had a conversation with Ronnie about the aspect ratio. I've personally never done a project in 2:1, and I've really wanted to experiment with this aspect ratio because phone screens are all 2:1 now, and a lot of people consume media on their phones. So I thought it would be appropriate to film the documentary how people would consume it. So fit it to a mobile phone in 2:1, and we had a little bit of back and forth between 2:1 and 16:9, and eventually I managed to convince Ronnie to do it in 2:1 because I think it was just a really nice aspect ratio for different screens and everything else.
What's your role in the editing process now?
So I'm not only colour grading and correcting the footage because it was shot in C-Log, but I'm also editing all the dialogue. So we had about 3 or 4 tracks of dialogue, Ronnie, the guest, the dirty backups, and the camera raw audio. So I'm editing and compressing, EQ, and mixing just the dialogue of the documentary.
Okay, and like you say about the colour and it being in log as well, do you reckon that'll be a challenge, or is that going to be quite easy?
I've not really worked with log. I don't really do much colour grading, so it's been nice to be able to experiment with log. Personally, I'm absolutely loving it. The dynamic range and the flexibility with log is much easier to work with than raw.
Cool. So how do you think your relationship and partnership with Ronnie Parsons will edge this documentary forward and going forward in the future?
It couldn't be better. We're both very technical and we both have our own creative vision. And a lot of the times I've allowed Ronnie to take control of how it was shot. I've had my input here and there, but I sort of wanted him to have the documentary shot how he wanted it to be shot, and so I sort of allowed him to film it how he wanted to. So it's we do bounce off each other, and we work really well to each other. And I'm looking forward to any other projects that we might work on together. Thank you very much for watching. Watch 1 in 700 on the 1st of June. I've been Brandon George, and subscribe.
Thanks for watching this behind-the-scenes interview with me, Ronnie Parsons, and feel free to like and subscribe, and feel free to watch 1 in 700, the Cleflip documentary coming out. The Light Has Died, coming out the 1st of June. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.
Perfect.